Hello, ladies and gentlemen,
Do we not
and
need to do
welcome
the
to the
clap?
Polyhedron Collider. Oh, shit, yeah.
I was still waiting until he finished the intro.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Collider cast, episode 53, the best games of 2018 that we've actually played. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm John Cage.
And I'm Andy Lewis.
Well, Merry Christmas, gents.
Indeed. Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry
and to
Christmas.
And to you, dear listeners.
Indeed.
Yes,
Although by
if
the
you're-
time they actually listen to this, it's probably going to be after New Year. But, you know, whatever.
I'm hoping to pull my finger out and get this episode out before New Year, so it'd be more appropriate message, maybe Happy New Year.
I love the way you're casually swirling a glass of red wine there, Steve.
Well, you know, one likes to be sophisticated when producing the end of the year podcast, you know.
I was about to break out the red wine myself, but being in a rush, I've just whacked out a load of beer from the fridge and lined it up in front of me.
Well, I'm mostly drinking leftovers in the same way that I'm mostly eating leftovers. I think if I eat the leftover turkey at the rate I'm doing now, I'll still be eating at end of January.
So pretty standard then.
That is one advantage of going away to your in-laws and your parents for Christmas, is that you can come away without any leftovers. Although they did give us leftovers, so
you
can't
get a
escape
goodie bag, you've still got to take them home with you.
well,
We
at least
did
it means
that.
we can make a decent turkey curry, but
Oh, that's
not
good.
but not eat it for like the next 3 months.
Yeah, we went to a friend's house for Christmas, and Asher and her boyfriend Pete. Pete was cooking all day, and he's like a really good chef, like really good. He made his own pate and all this sort of stuff, and oh my god, that pate was amazing. So I brought about half of it home.
Nice.
So good. But yes, we've got loads and loads of Tupperware in the fridge, full of various flavours of ham and chicken and goodness knows what else. Yay.
I'm on the squash tonight because I feel like I've drunk my own body weight in alcohol the last week or so.
Oh wow.
I mean, compared to old standards, really not that much, but just feel... Do you ever sometimes get to the point where you just feel dry? Like everything about you is dry.
Yes, I know that feeling.
And when you have like a drink of water, you suddenly go like, oh my God, water is delicious. This stuff's amazing. And you sit there thinking, that's not a normal reaction. There's something wrong here.
Not good. It's when your piss comes out like syrup, you know you're dehydrated.
It's not quite that bad,
dear.
but still. So speaking of Christmas, what did you chaps get for your presents? Did you find yourselves with a stack of lovely new board games, perchance?
No.
No.
Me neither.
No, Steve and I were talking about this the other day, actually. It's like it's now got to the point where the board games we either want or are available are either beyond the kind of the acceptable price for presents, or are so either difficult to find or hard to describe that there's just no point in trying to ask for them, because you'll end up with some other shit that you really don't. Oh, thanks, Grandma.
Yeah, funnily enough, I got various small Christmas stocking filler type things, which are like small trivia games, that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't really like trivia games. And
It's because you're rubbish at trivia, that's why.
well, yes, my general knowledge is not what most people's general knowledge consists of. However, Kaz did get me a Star Wars trivia game, which is actually quite good.
Ooh.
It's just a series of questions like, what did Han say as he was lowered down into the carbonite factory?
I know.
Exactly. But it was basically Kaz reading them out and me and my brother-in-law answering pretty much in stereo every single question. She's like, how do you know all this?
Actually, unless you're watching the Family Guy version, in which case, as he's lowered in, he says, "Golf."
You just wanted to put that together, bleep in there, didn't you, Lewis?
Yes. Christmas. I have to get a bleep.
Well, the nearest thing I got to a board game was Star Wars related stuff, which I got a lot of. I've got a Stormtrooper shaped whiskey decanter.
Ooh.
I've got some Star Wars pajamas.
Nice. Me too.
Yeah. And a Star Wars stationery set, including scissors, stapler, and hole punch.
Nice.
Are you starting your first day of school or something?
Yeah, as a stormtrooper.
You know,
He's off to stormtrooper school.
you know that decanter you've got, Steve? Every
Yeah.
time you try to pour whiskey into it, you always miss because it's a stormtrooper one.
Pew pew. Splash splash. Okay, so Christmas was a flop, but we did at least play some board games immediately before Christmas, did we not? Because Steve is now officially fractionally older.
An old bastard.
Yes, it was my 40th birthday just before Christmas, and rather than having a big bastard, rather than having like a big do with a disco, which I think everyone was expecting, we did basically a little mini convention. So I hired out a hall, set up loads of tables, got loads of people to play board games, got some food in, got some nice cottage pie and some pulled pork, bought several crates of beers, which I actually overestimated how much we needed. I thought we'd tan through that lot. I've still got a crate left in the fridge.
I didn't try very hard, I have to admit.
So yeah, we played a few games then. Now, of course, with it being my birthday, I knew I wasn't going to be able to play as many games as everyone else because I knew every so often I'd have to stand up and go meet and greet someone. So I managed to get in a game of Azul.
Yeah.
I managed to get a game of Brass Birmingham in.
Brass.
And I got in several games of both Codenames and Buckaroo.
Buckaroo?
Hardcore gaming.
Yes. one of my non-gaming friends bought it as a kind of a half joke, bought me Buckaroo for my birthday.
I didn't realise it was yours.
Yes, it was now mine. I'm going to admit I quite enjoyed it.
You also played I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of
yes.
Castles Between Ludwig on Ice extravaganza, didn't you?
Yeah. What's it actually called? Is it
Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Ludwig?
Okay.
Yes. Which was a bizarre game.
It's a mashup of two games, right?
Yes, it is, yes. It's a combination of Between Two Cities and the Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
It's like the gameplay of Between Two Cities with the scoring system of Mad King Ludwig.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Which means when you were trying to describe it, it seemed overly complicated, and about 3/4 way through the game, everything just clicked into place in my brain, and I went, "Oh, quite like this." But it took a while for that to happen, I must admit.
Yes, it was a little difficult. I mean, I will be reviewing it. I was asked by the Big J Steg to have a look at this for him. So review will be forthcoming, so I don't want to spend too much time describing it now, but we will have I think better to talk about it on a future cast.
Fair enough. So what did you guys get to play?
Well, played Azul with you.
Yep.
Just the one you won, John. You did win, didn't you?
Oh, I smashed it.
Yes.
Losers.
We played Brass Birmingham.
Brass. Sorry, I was taking a drink there.
What else did we play? Yeah, Between Two Castles. And we played... Oh, was it Good Cop, Bad Cop as well?
Oh, we played Good Cop, Bad Cop, yes. Embarrassingly, the game that's just been sitting on my review shelf for 3 years now.
Wow. Professionalism.
Actually, I'd realised I had played it before, and I now remember why it had remained on my review shelf for so long.
Having played it now, I can see why as well. It was...
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but it was limited, I think.
Resistance light.
And resistance isn't heavy, no.
No.
So what you guys were playing about 15 hours of Brass.
Brass.
I took a lot of the less serious gamers, let's say, through a series of games. So we played Tsuro, we played Dixit. We managed to get a game of Mechs versus Minions in as well, which is pretty good.
Excellent. It did look good, actually.
Yeah, so we've completed the 5th mission now. I think there's 12 in total. I've had that game for some time.
You're still further ahead than I am, John.
Yep.
Wow. And we didn't, rather hilariously, manage to advance our campaign of Panda Leg, despite the fact we were in the same place for an entire day.
Pandemic Legacy is definitely proving to be a legacy.
Yes.
I don't think we're ever going to finish it.
I'm going to have to buy a copy of it myself because I'm going to play it with the our regular gaming crew who were over at our house last night. We didn't play then, but because I see them probably more often than I see you guys, I'm going to start a new campaign of it. And I've bet them, and I'm going to bet you as well, that I reckon we'll finish an entire 12 months of that before us three finish our existing campaign.
Yeah, no way I'm putting money on that.
I can almost guarantee it because I know what will happen is next time when three of us meet up together, it'll be like, right, we've got to review this game for the podcast.
Yep.
Should we be playing Panda Leg? Yeah, but...
We'll leave the world hanging.
Indeed.
Right. We're talking about a game that three of us have played.
Ah, yes.
I believe it's time to move on to the awards, and we shall start with the highly prestigious Polyhedron Collider 3 for 3 award.
So this is the section of games that all three of us have bought and own a copy of.
Which has occurred in the last 12 months, so since this podcast of last year.
Yes.
So it may not necessarily be a game that came out in 2018.
And indeed, in most of these cases, it is not. Our finger is on the pulse. It's just not our own pulse.
It's just there's a bit of a time delay.
Yes.
So the first one on our list is a game that we've talked about quite a few times actually, and we all like it. Surprisingly light game for my own personal tastes, but right up John's alley for a number of reasons. Because it's a fairly light game, but also because it is a game in which you are basically persistently a dick.
It's in your interest if you want to win the game to
Yes.
incur some consequences upon the other players.
That is certainly one way of putting it, yeah. In fact, it's basically survival of the fittest, which is exactly what it's about.
Yep.
We are, of course, talking about the game Photosynthesis, where you play as a bunch of trees trying to grow bigger and taller and die faster than your opponents.
Pretty much, yeah.
So the idea is you grow trees from seeds, and they grow at certain points in the board. The closer to the middle of the board you get, the chances are the more points you're going to score. But you collect light from the sun rotating around the board. The more light you collect, the more things you can do with it to plant more trees, grow more seeds, etc. And if you grow trees in the right place, you will gather light, but also you will deny your opponent's light, which is the all-important bit. And John seems to be disturbingly good at that bit.
If a game involves some form of dickery, I don't know why, it just seems to come naturally to me.
Well, I played this just 2 days ago. We played this on Christmas Eve, so that would actually be 3 days ago. That maths-based degree coming in handy again.
Nice.
Introduced it to my sister who'd never played it before. She absolutely loved it. She came a very close second in the game because she managed to get the master of the art of being a dick, mainly to her boyfriend, who basically just penned him in, so he got no light all game. But what was interesting, I really enjoyed it and got a pretty good score, but by the end of it, I flicked for the rulebook and found the advanced variant. And I think I'm going to have to try this with you two boys.
Which one's that?
So the advanced variant, which is official in the rulebook, is you play 4 rounds instead of 3.
Oh, yes.
But you can only grow a seed or a tree if it is not in the shadow of another tree.
Ooh.
Interesting.
So blocking a tree is even more of a tactical advantage than it is in the standard game.
Oh, wow. Ow. That is nasty. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, that's like the most erect of dick moves, that is.
So I think next time as 3 gentlemen will be playing that, I vote we go for the advanced rules.
Motion carried.
I'm game.
Yep. So there we are. That's Photosynthesis. We very much enjoy that. Very nice game. And it is also, it's not expensive either. I think RRP is at 40 quid.
Yeah.
But you can get it for around about 30 in most places these days.
I paid less than 30, but it was at a convention.
Yeah, I think I paid 30 for it.
Yeah, it's around about 30 quid you can get it for. So it's really good value, very beautiful, easy to pick up. You've got to be careful with one of the rules, though, I've noticed. There are 2 editions of the rule book. I've got the first edition, and I think John has as well.
No, I've got the second. No, sorry, you're right. I've got the one that's got the wrong
Yeah. So John and I have got an earlier version of it.
The misleading version.
Yes, it's not wrong, it's just not clear. So it's to do with growing seeds and performing actions on the same space. So I think most of the fact that most people will have the second version of it these days if they go and buy it. But it's a belting game.
It is. It is. I took it with me to play this Christmas, but because my sister has an 18-month-old, we played next to no games.
Yes.
Because trying to entertain an 18-month-old is hard work, it turns out. and a full-time job. It's not like you can even have a game on the sly because he will be in there.
It's like all of these mothers around the world saying, do you know what? It's bloody hard being a mum.
It's true.
And
or
they're
being a
right.
parent.
It is. Yes, a parent. In fact, you're right. Yes, it is bloody hard. That's probably one of the reasons I don't have any kids. But I understand, having seen a lot of our friends have babies now, just running around, and they're just permanently tired, and I can understand why.
Yeah.
It's like looking after drunk clowns. It really is.
I think it's probably more hard work than that because drunk clowns are probably going to get tired eventually. 18-month-olds do not.
No. God. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. I'm too OCD. My stuff would get messed up. No, don't. I mean, it's hard enough having cats in the house. They are a nightmare. I found out today that one of them had peed on my games.
Cats are supposed to be a good way to prepare yourself in the direction of having kids, apparently.
Really?
As
well,
in,
because they're harder.
No. There's some small measure of responsibility, and they're fairly uncontrollable.
That is true, yes. I was going to say, surely a dog is better, but dogs are controllable. Children are not.
Indeed. What else have we got 3 for 3?
Now, this is the question. When did you buy Azul, John?
That is an interesting question.
Because Steve and I acquired it at the same time. Because I bought it for him. I was basically Steve's dealer. But it was about was it sort of end of November, start of December?
No,
2017?
it was end of December.
Was
it? Was like it was like a week before Christmas.
Was it the FFG release week? Was that when I got it for you? I thought that was November. Was it? Oh no, it wasn't. It was the week of 4 FFG releases in 2017, wasn't it? FFG week.
March. There you go. March
Awesome.
2018. So, if you've not played it, Azul is a tile laying game in which you are trying to lay masterpiece tile works from a selection of little buckets and a central bucket. Basically, you've got an area that you need to lay them in order, particular colours. If you get them all vertical or all horizontal, you get some bonuses, and if you get all the ones the same colour, you get a big bonus. And you kind of, as you're laying them, you need to sort of get combinations. So the more you join up in a row each round, the more points you get. You're then balancing that against what other people want. So there is the option for a little bit of dickery in there. No coincidence that I like this game.
Uh-huh.
Which, when a bit of dickery comes off in that game, it is spectacular if you can do it right.
It can be. When you not only deny someone of the tiles that they need to complete the row that they're after, but you also give them a shed load of tiles that they don't want, which means that all of those tiles overflow into the negative points section of their board. It is, as you say, magnificent.
Yes, thankfully on Saturday you didn't manage the latter, but on occasion you and Steve, between you, managed to deny me quite a few of the tiles I wanted, you twats.
You're welcome.
But it is good. So yes, it has now become a 3 for 3.
There you go.
Stick that on it. It's a bigger emblem than the Spiel des Jahres one. That's irrelevant. No one cares about that.
It's much more important.
Definitely. You know, if gamers actually want to buy this rather than just read about it.
So a third one. Now this is a bit contentious because 3 for 3 means that all three of us have bought and own a copy, but someone's put down Nemesis. I know for a fact that Andy and I have bought and own a copy of this fantastic game. It arrived relatively recently. We all played Prototype some time ago and loved it. Steve, where's your copy?
Right, I don't know if I'm getting a copy. I was promised a copy by Awakened Realms because I previously had a review copy. The version we played in January was a review copy. I posted it back to Awakened Realms, and they promised me a brand shiny new copy in the post when it got published. I've not heard anything else about it since, so and you two have received your copies.
We have.
It could be in a later shipment. I might be getting it later. I might not.
Well, it might be because they are currently tied up with a slight quality issue on one of the miniatures, which I have fallen foul of. You may want to check yours, actually, John, as well. One of the updates on the campaign was that the soldier apparently looks like it's been melted. So the casting of the plastic model hasn't worked quite as well as it should have done. It's the only model that seems to be suffering for whatever reason. But there is an official update, so check your Kickstarter campaign page. Check your model.
I need to do that.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a bit. There's a distinct drop in quality for that particular miniature for some reason. So they may be busy with that because apparently, according to the update, there was something like they've shipped something like 8,000 units, and about 300 to 400 of them are affected by this issue. So a fairly large percentage. You're looking about what, 5%? If the maths in my head works.
They're going to want to get that right as well, because that's not the only thing keeping them busy at the moment. I wasn't going to do a news section this time because, well, we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. But it's worth mentioning that Tainted Grail that we touched on previously, guess how many backers and how much money they've raised now? Bearing in mind that they needed 40,000, and the last time we spoke about this, there was something like 2 million quid's worth.
Well, I know that when I backed it, I was backer something like 19,200 and something, and that was a good couple of weeks ago. So I can imagine we're probably up at 50 or 60,000 backers now.
37,696 backers, earning them a net total of so far £4,385,561.
Jesus Christ on a cracker!
I've still got 19 hours to go, and even while I'm watching this now, I can see it going up.
Ooh, I've got FOMO now.
Have you backed for £1, Mr. Lewis?
I haven't. No, I've completely dropped my pledge.
Oh, okay.
I've not done a Nemesis. The reason is because as much as I love Arthurian legend stuff, and it does look interesting, the models are obviously going to be very nice because, Awakened Realms have got a really good track record for me because I've got, this War of Mine, Nemesis, and Lords of Hellas. They're all brilliant games. Miniatures are great, so there's no issue with doubting Awakened Realms' ability and quality. But I don't know, there's just something about the game that just doesn't pop for me. It doesn't have that grab me by the balls and drag me in there, give me your money sort of feeling for me for some reason. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't have that wow for me. Obviously, for everybody else on the planet, it does. But we all know I am a bit weird.
I just find it staggering that there's 37,000 backers for that game now. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think it's now Awakened Realms have got such a kudos and the credit they've got from the community from all the 3 campaigns that I've just mentioned, that I think a lot of people are starting to pay attention now. And obviously, King Arthur is obviously a very popular subject as well. So I think the combination of the both is just, evidently it is demonstrably a win for them.
So there you go. So Nemesis isn't quite a 3 for 3. Well, maybe it is. We don't really know.
It is. We don't know. At this point in time, it isn't because my copy hasn't arrived.
It's an honourable 3 for 3.
We'll wait for Wave 2 and see what happens because there's the base box expansion, which is part of the main campaign, which I know John will both be getting. But I went all in and John didn't, so I'll be getting like the second expansion as well in, I guess, 12 months or so. So we'll see what happens at the end of that. Maybe this time next year, it will be a 3 for 3 in 2019. You never know.
Indeed. Perhaps we should get on with what we've actually been playing this year. What's our top 3 games released in 2018, according to BGG, Board Game Geek, that we each think are the best games that have been released this year? Tough call.
This isn't fair. It is a tough call because I had a list of, what was it, something like 25 games on this.
Yeah, and the list said 3 games each.
I know, but I spent like a good 5 minutes paring that list down before this podcast.
While Steve and I waited.
Yes, I know. It was a highly organised affair, but I got down to about 6, wasn't it, before I really started struggling to pick. And you know what? These are really, really good, because I think because last year wasn't that hard to pick 3 top games each.
No, you say that. I've looked at our notes from last year.
Have I got rose-tinted glasses on already?
You have, I think, yes.
I don't know, it didn't feel like 2017 was as good as 2016. Because we struggled in 2016 because there was some really good stuff out in 2016. And this year for me, I don't know, but 2018 feels like a really good good year for board games. Like, there's been so much good stuff out this year that it has been really hard to pick.
And I would say as well that this is the games we've played as well, and we have, of course, haven't played everything.
Which does limit us somewhat.
It does limit us, but we did a quick run through of what are the kind of most popular games we've missed. And I got to admit, most of them didn't float about massively. I mean, the games that everyone else is like raving about that we haven't played, that I think we'd all like to play. I'd like to try Blackout Hong Kong because it sounds like such a fascinating premise.
You've mentioned this before, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, this is a game in which Hong Kong is suffering a blackout, and you're basically managing all the criminal underworlds who are suddenly having like one night of
fun,
just trying to take over the city. Yeah, and it's a Euro with an interesting theme.
Hello, Euro, you say?
Or Euro styling, should we say? It's not it's not heavy Euro, but it's a Euro styling. So one game we've kind of played but not played is Teotihuacan, or as it should be said, Teotihuacan.
Yes, apparently, according to David Turksey, yeah. Managed to catch me in the middle of Expo this year, and because he'd heard, I don't know how, maybe he does listen to this podcast, how we chose to pronounce it, and he says, really not hard, Andy. I said, go on then. Just want to I can. Oh, okay, right, David, nice one. Yeah, that's dead easy.
Every time you say it, it's got a sort of Japanese lilt to it.
Teotihuacan, which is weird because it's South American, not Japanese. Yeah. But never mind. Obviously, I'm not great with accents. Actually, apparently I'm good with accents, but not this one, it would seem.
So, Teotihuacan, or Teotihuacan as we usually prefer to say, is the game about building and I said Aztec pyramid, I always get this wrong. Is it a Mayan pyramid, Incan pyramid, rather than Aztec
Mesoamerican is how it's described. Now, I don't know if that kind of encompasses Aztec, Inca, and anything around that sort of area and time period or not.
Oh, but, no, that was another one that someone corrected us on last time. We said like Aztec, Incan, Mayan, whatever, and somebody said, you do realise there's like 8,000 years between the 3 people you've just mentioned, and we kind of went...
Obviously
we're engineers and scientists, we didn't do history. But yes, it's apparently Mesoamerican. Now, I don't know what that actually means. I'm going to completely plead ignorance there, but never mind.
So I think we like it, but we want to have I want to have a proper full game of this because I've only played the demo we played at Expo, and John's not played this at all. But I do believe it's going to melt his tiny little mind.
There's no belief about it. This is a science fact. He's going to cry when he plays this game. Have you played Tzolk'in, John?
No.
The one with the cogs? Okay.
Nope.
The inverted convolute on ice.
Gear form.
That's it. There you go. Yes, the one that Steve wet himself over.
I think all of these games fall into that slot of stuff that I exclaim that I hate playing because it's melting my brain throughout the entire game and then go on to win.
Yes. You see, you complain, but you're actually quite good at them. Which is infuriating because I love them and I'm shit at them.
Thing is, I don't really care about being good at them or not. I mean, it's fun to win, obviously, but it's how much pain you go through whilst playing a game. If you have to go through pain while you're playing a game, it sort of falls off that whole "it's a game, it's fun" cliff.
It is. I mean, you should ultimately be having fun when you play the game, but what I'm trying to do really is educate you into playing better games.
Better is a very subjective term, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
This is just a different genre.
No, it's the genre of better. But no, Teotihuacan is a spiritual successor to Tzolk'in. Same designer, so Daniele Taschini. Tzolk'in was published by CGE, whereas Teotihuacan is published by NSKN Games.
Who are no longer NSKN Games.
They're not. Oh, who are they?
They have merged with Board and Dice.
Oh, that's right. That's a recent thing, isn't it? Was that November, December?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was November. Yeah,
November. You're right, sir. I sit corrected. And it's Mesoamerican. The idea, there's a rondel, nice chap, around the outside. You basically pick a space, move your dice that represent your workers. They improve themselves over time, and the idea is you build a pyramid, or at least that's part of the game. It is wonderful. I love it, and it's very complicated. I think it's probably easier to understand than Tzolk'in, but the strategy's harder.
Okay. That would be better, because I think Tzolk'in is another one that's a pain in the arse to learn.
Yes, it is, because you're looking at the cogs going, oh my... Well, this looks fun, but then you realise what it actually means and think, oh my god. So the mechanics of Tzolk'in are harder, but I think the strategy's slightly lighter. Whereas in Teotihuacan, the mechanics are a lot easier, but the strategy's harder. I think that's probably a fair way. I mean, it's definitely a medium to heavy game in both cases. But they are, I mean, it's brilliant. I love it. I think it's a really good game. And I was really struggling to put this, or not to put this, on my 3 when you bullied me from 25 games down to 3.
We did. We bullied you, Lewis.
I'm actually emotionally scarred because of this experience.
I don't think it's because of this experience. It's a lot more deep-rooted than that, my friend.
It's knowing you two for 12 years that's done it.
I think that's the only reason that you're still around.
So another game none of us have played, but has come very highly rated, and the reason why we haven't played it, and there's an excuse I'm sticking to, is you cannot buy this game at the moment because it went out of print almost instantaneously, and that's the game of Root,
which I think looks fantastic.
I've
heard a lot of really good stuff about this.
I've heard nothing but good things.
So Root is a game where you take on a role of forest critters.
Please tell me one of them is a badger.
There is a vagabond that's... is he a badger or something like it?
I think it's foxes, cats, birds, and something else. I don't know. I haven't played this.
The Marquis de Cat, the nefarious Marquis de Cat, has seized the great woodland, intent on harvesting its riches.
Cats don't live in the woods.
Ours does.
They do now, because they've taken over the place.
Bloody don't. Oh, you'd be lucky to get ours in the bloody garden, never mind the woods. No, I'm quite happy on the sofa, thanks.
In fact, our cat may well be Marquis de Cat. Under her rule, the many creatures of the forest have banded together. This alliance seeks to strengthen its resources and subvert the rule of cats. In this effort, the alliance may enlist the help of the wandering vagabonds, who are able to move through the more dangerous woodland paths, though some may sympathise with the alliance's hopes and dreams. These wanderers are old enough to remember the great birds of prey who once controlled the woods. And that's the other faction, I think, is the birds, the Eerie.
So this is a game in which every player gets a completely different faction which has their own completely different rules.
100% async.
Yeah, it's not like asymmetric powers. There are different rules about how you play each faction.
Ooh, so that's like Scythe on, I wouldn't say steroids, but probably LSD.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Scythe.
Oh, see, that's another one, John. That's another great game you're missing out on. We need to educate you, sir.
You do.
Speaking of woodland creatures, we also haven't played Everdell, which we're hearing quite a few good things about. But one person in this group has pre-ordered a reprint of the game, and I'm not going to give a prize out for guessing who.
It's not a pre-order. It was a Kickstarter expansion campaign that provided the option for the base game as well.
Pre-order.
Whatever. You just gel.
Enough of our honourable mentions. It's time we got on to the main event. So, as per usual in these podcasts, we have picked 3 games each, much to Andy's consternation, as he wanted to pick 10. So we will end up with a top 9 Polyhedron Collider games of 2018 that we have actually played.
Yes.
So, who'd like to go first?
Andy.
Number 1, in no particular order, he says, number 1. Brass. I've written down Lancashire, but I'm going to include both of them because the pedants of the gaming group, the gaming fraternity, will probably turn and go, Brass wasn't released in 2018. Well, Birmingham was. And I'm going, because it was part of the same campaign, I'm classing them as 2018. So there you go. Lancashire and Birmingham are really, 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 really good. Now, we actually played Birmingham on Steve's 40th do, which took about a week. But it was, well, what did you think of it, Steve?
I absolutely loved it. Now, I mean, I must admit, I should point out that I beat everyone at that game by a good 30 points.
No.
30 points, and how many points was that in total?
About 125 I got, and everyone else got about 95.
Okay, so like easily a 25% win.
Yes, I smashed everyone.
I always think it's important to get that bit in, because if you don't know how much 30 points or whatever it is in the context of the game, 30 points could be like, you know, nothing or everything. Sounds like
it was everything. The other thing was as well, I did my turn in like seconds, whereas everyone else came around to everyone else's turn. They're all going, ooh, but by the time it came to me, I'd already decided what I was doing. It's like, right, I'm doing this, doing that. Right, can I get him for beer now?
Smug Tudor, they'll call him.
Yeah. It's all his beginner's luck. Next time, he's going to be crying.
To be fair, let me explain why I think I did well in it, and I think it's because I got the gist of what this game really is. So it's about the Industrial Revolutions, Lancashire, and there's Birmingham. So they're concentrating on different areas of the United Kingdom with a slightly different change in era as well. So Lancashire is more towards like the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. So you're looking just dealing in coal and oil. No, sorry, not coal and oil. So
Iron.
Coal and iron, and then feeding the cotton mills of the region with these resources. So really what you're trying to do is build cotton mills and sell cotton. Is the real gist of it, isn't it?
Yes.
But you've got to build the links to it. Whereas Brass Birmingham, you've got a couple of extra things in the mixed. You've got the pottery industry from Stoke and such like, and then you've got the beer industry as well, and the beer industry is feeding everyone. So whereas in Lancashire you don't have to feed your workers, it's just about getting the bare minimum resources. In Birmingham you've got to get beer to people, because by this point in Britain everything ran on beer.
Still does. He says, supping a beer.
The way I kind of twigged about how this game works is you've got to think of it like it's like a series of the you know when you used to play like RTS games like StarCraft and Red Alert and Command and Conquer, and there was that kind of build queue you had to do. You know, you'd build the mineral resource gatherer, then you'd build the troop builder, then you'd build the upgrade unit, then you'd build the aircraft building or something like that.
There's some kind of technology tree. Basically.
Technology tree. It's basically like that several times, because you need a coal mine to make coal, and then you need an iron mine to make iron, but you need the coal to power the iron mine, and you need a brewery, and the brewery needs iron and it needs coal. And what you need to do is you need to build these several times, but at the same time you're building your links between these places. So you've got to put canals in the first era down and trains in the second era to connect all these places, and there's bonus points at the end for connecting all these things.
Yes.
If you guys like Brass, you're going to love Factorio. You need to play that computer game. Honestly, it's just like this.
No, I'd like to sleep.
It's overrated when you could be playing that game.
So yeah, I've only played one of each game. So I've only played Lancashire once, I've only played Birmingham once, but I'm very impressed with it. I really do like it. And the Roxley kind of sheen to it, which they've done, it's new board artwork and new tokens and everything, is absolutely lovely. A bit dark in places, but lovely.
It is gorgeous. I mean, I'm really glad I backed both, because I mean, I don't know how the hell they made them for $40 each. I mean, we're talking 40 quid each. Sorry. So you get, if you back the campaign, it was 80 quid for the both of them, and that's just bargainous. And it is beautiful.
So I didn't get to play this game with you guys. I think because Sid stole my spot when I wasn't looking. But you're right, it did look very pretty. And from an outside point of view, I did sort of hover past once or twice and sit there thinking, I can't decide whether I would really enjoy this game or whether it would just explode my brain through my ears.
It's a pain in the arse to explain because it's quite bitty. There's lots of bits that or sort of flow into one thing. Whereas actually on your turn, all you're doing is playing 2 cards. That's it. You do one action, you do one action. And you got a choice of about 4 actions. You either, build a thing, build a link, sell something, improve one of your sets of buildings so you can build a better one, or take a loan. That's basically it. That's it. That's all you do. And it's just the combination of those that gets quite complicated, because in order to build something, as Steve says, you need coal, you need iron, and the way that all of these things interact makes it slightly more complicated. But in terms of actually your turn, it's really straightforward. And once you've had like 2 or 3 turns, the game flows really quickly. And if you've got an idea of what you can do and what you want to do, the game will actually flow quite quickly. I think I prefer Lancashire for its simplicity. But I can see a lot of people have turned around and said, we actually prefer Birmingham. But I have also heard that anyone who's not played Lancashire but played Birmingham first prefers Birmingham. But anyone who's played Lancashire first prefers Lancashire.
I think I preferred Birmingham just because it seemed a bit fairer.
Yeah, well, this is you're referring to the shipyard thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
This is how I thrashed your sorry ass.
On the first game, yeah, because there's a technology you can develop which is extremely limited in Lancashire. And if you waste too much, if you go in a race against someone else to try and get this, you'll basically waste 4 or 5 of your turns trying to get shipyards ready to use. And if someone else gets a shipyard before you, you've lost a lot of points and you've wasted a lot of resources to get there.
Yeah, that's fair, actually, I think.
There's potteries in Birmingham, but they're not quite as limited and not quite as technology intensive. So there's a couple. There seems to be a few more options available to you, basically, if you're playing.
I think it's probably fair. Yeah, it's a bit flatter. It's not quite as peaky. Yeah, no, that's probably fair, because the potteries require quite a lot of investment. I mean, the shipyards do as well, but there's only 3 stages in the shipyards, whereas 5 in the potteries, and you've got to take a serious hit when you invest in the potteries. So it's got to be like your overarching strategy rather than just take a chance with the shipyards. Oh, I've got an opportunity, bang, I'll buy one. All of a sudden, that's like 20 victory points, job done. So that's a fair description. But it is a great game. I'm really glad I went all in again, because that's not like me.
But to be fair, with that campaign, there wasn't really a lot to it. It was 2 games and the poker chips, wasn't it?
Pretty much. I mean, the thing is, I think most of the cash went into the poker chips, if I'm honest, because ultimately it's just 4 punch boards, 4 player cards, and a game board, and that's basically it. There's not actually that much in the game, but it works. Oh, and a deck of cards, and that's it. But that's all it needs.
I think most of the money went to the artwork, to be fair.
Yes, actually, artwork and poker chips, that's it. But do you know what? It's a great game for that reason, that it is simple, beautiful, and plays so well. And I think that's the mark of a really good game, that, the mechanics are simple, the idea is simple, but by God, you've got to think about it.
So that's Brass, which we're including both Brass Birmingham and Brass Lancashire.
Mr. Tudor, you're next on the list.
Yes, so I've only actually played this game once, I will perfectly admit, but I personally believe it is so damn good that it is worthy, no deserving of a mention in my top 3 for the year, and that is Detective by Portal Games. Now, this is the kind of crime-solving game in which you have to actually solve a crime, and it feels like it doesn't feel as procedural as the escape games do, as like most of these escape room type games the board game do. It feels open. It feels wide open. It feels like you need to have a whiteboard with bits of red string connecting pictures of people. It feels like you can be thrown off completely. You can't just go after every single clue, because if you go after every single clue, you'll waste time and you won't find the actual answer. You've got to really have a think about it.
Is it time limited in some way then?
It's action limited.
Right.
So, okay. And the beauty is you don't know how long certain actions will take, just like in the real world. So, for instance, you may think to yourself, oh, we need to go to City Hall to get records on this building to find out who owned it. And that you think, oh, that might not take long. And then you get there and realise it takes you 4 hours to find the papers you're looking for, because they're just badly organised, and then you go, crap, we've wasted half a day doing this, and it's got us something that might be useful. We don't know quite sure at this point. So there's that definite thing of like, ooh, and unfortunately you can't split up. If you could split up in the game, I think it'd be much more it might balance that, but you got to make that decision and stick with it and go for these things. And personally, I think it's a really, really clever game.
I'd really like to play that one. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
Is this the one that's driven by an app as well?
It's not driven by an app, but you need an app to access some of the information, and you also need an internet connection to get some of the information as well.
Ah, okay.
Because I don't want to spoil too much, but the first case in the book involves a Nazi war criminal, and you can find details on like operations that took place in World War II, which are to do with the story. So there's information you can find on Wikipedia and other websites which will actually give you clues to help solve the solution. Now, what it does do app-driven wise is when you get physical evidence, so you get things like fingerprints and things like that, it gives you like a 16-digit code to put in and keeps tabs of what you've got. So if you've got like a fingerprint on something, it'll tell you, oh, this fingerprint matches the fingerprints of this person.
It's pretty cool.
But most of it is on the board. Most of it is board and card related. So think of... Actually, gameplay-wise, it's closer to Time Stories than any other game I've played, but without the random dice rolls.
Ooh. You had me until you told me that.
Only because actions take time, and you've got a deck of cards in front of you, which are most of your options.
Okay, are they... Because one of the many things, actually, I didn't like about Time Stories, critic bomb there, because I know it's quite popular, is, the random amount of time it took to do actions in Time Stories. Because if you rolled a 4 every time, you basically did about 4 things before you were humped.
Yeah. It's, as I said, you don't know how long things will take, but they're not random. The story is already determined that. So you don't know how long it's going to take to interview someone and get the information out of them.
But at least it's fixed.
It's fixed, yeah.
See, that's okay, I think, because you can proactively do other things as well. So that's all right. I guess that's fine, as long as it's determined.
But you don't know that once it's determined up front.
Yeah.
No, but that's okay, because, I mean, you're not
at the whim of a dice, basically.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
You're at the whim of the game's writer instead.
Yeah, so you're not going to win or lose the game on the roll of a die, essentially, is the good thing. And that's, rolling the dice to win or lose a game is crap.
To that extent, at least, should be more balanced.
Yes. Agreed. I am tempted to try it. I'm interested to try it. I really would like to, because it sounds like my cup of tea. I do like detective-y type games. So we'll have to give it a go, using the old grey matter and stuff.
Although it builds on the things that we've seen before in the kind of escape room type of games and Time Stories itself, I think it's the next level up of that. It's the new bar, which any other game of this type is going to have to try and beat, basically.
So is that why, basically, you stuck it in your top 3 now, then? Because of it's novel, it's taken a genre to the next stage. Yeah,
it is the next... I mean, I love Time Stories, but it's the next thing after Time Stories, in my view.
Yeah, I liked the idea of Time Stories, but I kind of got bored with it. I got a bit fed up because it felt a bit trial and error for me, in a way.
I think Time Stories suffered from poor writing on a few of them. And some of them... I mean, did you play the Cthulhu one?
No, I only played the base one, but I'd had enough of that, and Laura and I fell out over it, so we didn't go back.
Oh, dear.
So I thought the base one is actually one of the best ones. The Cthulhu one we beat on our first run through pure luck.
See, there's the thing.
We just seemed to just force it, and it was just like, that's really disappointing, that... Anyway, that was Detective from Portal Games. I really loved it. I think, John, you'll be playing it soon because your wife has requested to play this as well.
Yeah.
So you might be playing it very soon.
I'm down with that.
Mr. Cage.
Yeah, speaking of genre bar setting type games, first on my list has to be Monolith Arena. So this is a little bit unusual because I really feel like the prequel to that, Neuroshima Hex, is kind of in a bit of a genre of its own anyway. But this is just like another massive step up from that original game. Like, it adds a huge chunk to it. So if you've never played Neuroshima Hex, that's basically a sort of tile playing game. You put down little units that point at other little units, and they either do melee damage or range damage, or they buff other things on the table. Each one has some sort of initiative turn order, and when you eventually kick off a battle, everything fires in order. So you're trying to line up your units so they kill the other units on the board before they can hurt your stuff. And whoever does the most damage to the enemy's base, so each other's bases, wins the game. Simple as that. Monolith Arena adds on top of that these monoliths. So as well as having the cards that you put down on the table each turn, you also got a monolith which is 3 cards high, and it can hold some of these tiles in it. And you can expand, you can deploy this monolith throughout the game. So suddenly on your turn, you have 3 things that you can just go dunk, dunk, dunk on the board. But you pick these things in secret. This is the cool bit. So you don't know what anyone else's monolith holds inside it. You just know that at some point they're going to deploy this thing. It might be some buffs. It might be some particularly tough units. Just don't do what we did and put mobile units inside there because you can't move them once it's down. Oops.
I would really like to. You two have played this, and I haven't yet. So, I mean, I played Hiroshima Hex, so I do obviously understand what you're talking about. But it does. I mean, I really like Hiroshima Hex, actually.
Yeah.
I haven't bought it yet because Alora hates it. So I'd never get to play it, unfortunately. But I really would love to play this. It sounds fantastic. A really great advancement. As you say, John, a complete advancement of the concept.
So the other thing I think is really good, Hiroshima felt like quite an asymmetric game. Like all the different factions have got particularly unique powers. But this one, the uniqueness of those powers is like another level. So I had a faction that could charge their units across the board and do damage outside of battle time, which is unique to that faction. I think yours could teleport, Steve?
I could teleport, and I had units which could attack regardless of where they were on the board.
Snipers.
So they didn't need line. Yeah, effectively, yeah, they didn't need line of sight. They could just attack people at a distance.
God.
That's right.
That sounds really
Which was
powerful.
evil.
You basically you could teleport and shoot anyone you like.
Yeah, but everything was really rather weak, so I didn't have any heavy units.
Okay, right. So you're really nimble.
Yeah. That was actually the elves, basically, so they were nimble, light, and...
Till you
were the elves.
Till you encountered a barbarian, just went punk.
Pretty much, yep.
Nice.
Yeah, so I just like the fact that it added to that asymmetry. It builds upon it from Hiroshima Hex, and just the combination is fantastic.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, really nice little game. Worthy of my top 3, I feel.
Excellent.
Yes, love that. I do love that game. It's really good.
Yep.
Mr. Lewis, your number 2, or your second one.
My
on your
second
list.
one, yes, in no particular order. I have been forced because I love it, and I've been really pleasantly surprised. I always knew it would be good, but I didn't realise it would be this good. To the expense of quite a few other games, is Deep Madness. Now, I've kind of dribbled and drooled about this game for about 2 years, and I really am staggered by just how much fun and just how much I enjoy the game. It is brutally hard, it is punishing, it is horribly, horribly complicated in some places.
Time consuming?
It takes about half an hour to set up a game. It's really quite faffy to set it up depending on the scenario. But it is everything I think I really like about a dungeon crawl. I mean, I know it's very similar to a lot of the other dungeon crawlers. So one of the criticisms of it is that it's basically Zombicide with Lovecraft under the sea. So it's essentially just a dungeon crawler. But because I don't have Zombicide, and I don't have pretty much any other dungeon crawler really, but I love Lovecraft, thanks to Mr. Tudor here, who has basically fed me some crack, and then some more crack, and then some more crack. And now I am a hopeless addict. Bastard.
I love Crackian.
I love crack. Yes, I love Crackian. The idea of a sort of a sci-fi survival horror Lovecraftian beat 'em up almost really appealed to me. So I love it. I really, really love it. I really like really hard games as well. Games where winning is almost optional.
When it's a nicety that you're almost certainly not going to be afforded.
The thing, I think it suits my personality because I am quite stubborn, as you may or may not have noticed.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I'm usually such an easygoing guy. But the idea of wanting to win really drives me to play it again, and I think that really works for me as a person because, winning every time is kind of boring.
Well,
I know it doesn't happen very often for you, John, but, But it's, winning every time is boring, because either you need, if you win at something every time, surely one of the reasons any of us play games is that we like the challenge.
I like to win, but I like it to be challenging.
Exactly.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Exactly.
I don't think there's any problem with winning all the time, though.
Oh, no, not at
that.
all. If it's a challenge and it's a hard-fought victory, then yes, of course, winning every time is great. But if it's almost effortless, then it is boring. Whereas in Deep Madness and Mansions of Madness, that sort of thing is, it's not a foregone conclusion. It is a difficult game, and most of the time you are going to lose. And that's one of the reasons I love it, other than the fact that the artwork's amazing, the miniatures are fantastic, and it's brilliant. And for me, it was
brilliant.
It's brilliant, yeah. That is a reference to a whiskey trip that John and Steve and I went on about 4 years ago.
Yeah, the Brooklady tour guide thought everything was brilliant, and I mean everything,
including the colour of the ocean on the day. But it encompasses a lot of good things that I really like about the game. For me, I really like Lovecraft. I like the challenge. It would seem that despite insisting on several occasions on this podcast that it's not all about the miniatures, it clearly is all about the miniatures.
It never hurts, I think.
But it is, to me, it just works. It just works for me. One of those things that just comes together. Do you know what? This is belting fun. It's punishing. It's brutal. I think you really like it, John. I really do.
I agree.
I have played it, and I can't disagree with a lot of what Andy says. The only thing is, I think it's a game which is in a busy genre. So as I said, it's a bit of a Zombicide knockoff, and so it's competing against a lot of other games in that kind of space. And although if you said to me 5 years ago, I would have gone, I absolutely need this. But now I'm like, I've got a lot of games which are similar. I don't quite need that. I mean, one of the game which has not been mentioned on this list because I haven't taken it out of its cellophane yet is Vampire Hunters, which is a similar kind of game. Embarrassing there. But yes, I think you would enjoy this, John.
Definitely. Another reason I really like it is the fact that it has the overarching story to it. It's whilst each individual game is part of it, it's basically a scenario in the story. It has this lovely novel affair. There's like this massive wall of text, basically, in the manual that you can read if you choose to. You can even choose to read it in a very extravagant voice to the rest of your players as to what's going on.
That does kind of go back on what we said in the last podcast about not playing games and being and role playing through them.
Well, you don't role-play the turns, but there's definitely an overarching story, which again, it comes back to the idea of the link of the mechanics and the theme. And I really like the idea of having a story as part of the game. No matter what form that story takes, whether it's in D&D where your actions form a story, or the scenario you're playing in forms part of the story, something like that. There's basically a reason to play. You are part of an unfolding tale. I think is part of the reason. One of the reasons I like this. The way the game is structured is certainly part of the draw for me. But yes, a successful campaign, and I have just locked in all of the things on the reprint campaign for the expansions. Because clearly 2 expansions wasn't enough.
Junkie.
No. Enthusiast, John. Enthusiast. Willing supporter of a well-established and excellently run campaign. That's what it is.
If you prefer to call it that way. Yeah,
yes.
Fine.
More words that mean the same thing.
Indeed.
The words Rick and Morty, that's just Junkie with more words.
Yes. And more miniatures.
So that was Deep Madness.
Mr. Steve.
A Deep Madness, a game which, if you're a regular listener of this podcast, would have come as no surprise. And so I will now release my second game.
which comes as no surprise.
No surprise.
Yeah.
Because 12 months ago, I was saying, I reckon this game is a shoo-in. I predict it's going to come out this year. It did. I bought it straight away.
You're just doing this, honestly, just to rub it and go, I was right.
Yeah, but I was wrong about the BSG, but the Battlestar Galactica remake, wasn't I?
That is true, yes. Very wrong.
So, I'm not right all the time.
Well, time may tell. Time may tell.
True. So, Arkham Horror 3rd Edition came out this year, and it's a bit weird calling it Arkham Horror 3rd Edition because, well, we've had Eldritch Horror, which felt a lot like Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, and this game takes a hell of a lot out from the Arkham Horror LCG, so that it feels like quite a different game. It's both familiar and it's kind of new because it feels like Arkham in many ways, but there are lots of mechanics in there which make it feel a bit different. And I really, really love this. It's made a few nice tweaks to the base game, the basic premise. It's now scenario driven, so every time you go to Arkham, you're playing a new kind of layout of Arkham. You'll have different goals and different monsters and different things will happen. So it's no longer just about closing X gates and saving the world. Now you've got to do specific things to try and save the game. And the game is on a branching storyline. So if your ball's up too early, you can end up down one branch and succeed too early and you can go down another branch. Absolutely love what I've played this game so far, and I'm waiting just to play more of it now.
Yeah, I bought it as well, and seriously, I hate you for us. You've got me
not a junkie.
You
not
bastard.
a junkie at all.
No, not at all. No, and I've only played it once, and this is another punishingly difficult game because within the space of literally a turn, my game went from everything's actually quite good, I've only got a couple of doom counters on the board, to, oh, we're actually f***ed. 3 anomalies, almost a great old one was appearing, and a lot of bad shit happened within the space of a turn, which is basically what the Arkham games are all about. So it came as no surprise in a way. It's just you're looking at the board going, what the hell did we just do? What happened?
The pandemic effect.
Yes, exactly. If you've played Pandemic Cthulhu, it's exactly the same. You know, the turn of a card can make your game go from everything sunshine and roses to, Jesus Christ, we're now somewhere beyond the U-bend. And the thing is, I've coming back to the I was right 12 months ago, when Steve raised this and said Arkham Horror's 3D, Third Ed is out later this year. And it's going to be a little bit more tile-based with a few more cards. I predicted it would be more like Fallout, and I was right. So this is basically Fallout Lovecraft Edition.
And that's not a bad thing.
No. It's not. I do like it. Like you, Steve, I think it's a really nice twist on the idea that every game is obviously now going to be different, other than, obviously random dice rolls and stuff. But the different layout of the game, depending on the scenarios, and of course the branching story depending on what happens in the game, is definitely a good thing to do. Although, big criticism of it, there aren't enough scenarios to start with. There's only 4, and I don't think that's enough.
I can see what you mean, yeah. It's I think what they've done is they've done something similar to what they did with Eldritch Horror, which is they've priced it so they can produce that much content, and then there'll be an expansion which takes it to what it really should be, if that makes sense.
Yes, well, it's what they did with Fallout, if you remember, because our biggest criticism of Fallout was that they didn't have enough starting missions. So after like 2 games, we'd seen them all, and we knew all the answers, as it were. And they released an expansion very shortly afterwards, which I may or may not have purchased.
No, definitely not a junkie.
No.
So, that's Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. I absolutely love it, but that was never going to be a surprise. Unless Fantasy Flight Games had completely ballsed it up, it was going to end up on this list anyway.
Yeah, true.
Just from what Sid dogged determination.
Yeah.
It's going on whether it's shit or not.
It's Arkham, it's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Cage.
So, number 2 on my list was something we touched on earlier, which is Nemesis. So, we've all played this. We've almost all got it.
Almost all.
We certainly all wanted it.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. So, a survival horror type game set in space on a spaceship. You wake up and you come to discover that one of your crewmates' cryotubes is just a smashed piece of glass with a bloody trail leading away from it. And that's where the story starts. Creep round the ship, try and make sure that you're on course to the place that you think you are, and discover that you're not alone.
I should point out, you discover quite quickly you're not alone.
Yeah. As you wander around, you hear sort of scurrying noises, which, depending on how loudly you make your presence known, either you get away with it and nothing bad happens, it's all fine, there's nothing here, or, and this will definitely happen.
I was going to say, there's no awe about it.
Something nasty will be attracted by the sounds that you're making and basically come and try and eat you and indeed impregnate you. So think Aliens the board game, although it's not Aliens the board game, we're told.
No, it most definitely is not. Even though it looks, sounds, smells and tastes just like Aliens the board game.
Now, here's the interesting thing. When we played this back in January, we played a prototype copy of this in January, and I wasn't... I was a little bit disappointed by it. I thought it was a bit bloaty in places. Andy, at the time, you were also disappointed by it.
Yes,
you found it was bloaty. Now, at the time, I decided to back out of my pledge for it. John decided he was happy enough with it to keep on with his pledge, but you, Andy, you changed your mind and went from no pledge to full pledge.
Well, of course, yes. Go big or go home and all that.
And you've now played the final version of the game.
I have.
So can you briefly update us, on if what's changed and if or how it has improved?
I love the way you got the briefly gate in there, because, it's not as if I'm verbose or anything. Yes, I can. In a word, it's ace. Okay, that's 2 words, but I'm verbose.
That was brief. Thank you.
It was brief. It is really, really, really good. Awaken Realms have done exactly what I expected them to do. They've taken on a lot of feedback during the campaign. So they took the feedback. I mean, they've even taken our feedback that it was too long.
So it didn't all get better then. It did get worse a bit too.
It's still about as long in terms of the number of turns that are allowed, but it does rattle on slightly quicker. So instead of each player taking all of their cards in one go, you just do 2. So there's less downtime between players, so the game, you feel like you're more involved, which is great. One of our greatest concerns at the time was the player elimination aspect. Whilst it still exists, the first person to die can play as the intruders. So they're still playing in the game. So it basically makes the game harder because obviously you've got a human brain moving the intruders around rather than just random cards moving them around. So, which is great. The second person to die, yes, you're out of the game. But by that time, you're probably all out of the game, let's be honest. Because shit will have gone so far sideways, you're in space. What else has happened? They've improved other bits and bobs as well. It's just little tweaks here and there that have just made it so much smoother and so much nicer that I'm very, very glad that I did what I did.
Eliminated a lot of niggles.
Yes, basically all of the creases have been ironed out rather smoothly, and Awaken Realms have done what they do really, really well and turn a really good concept into a really good board game. And interestingly, Dan, in our Worcester board gaming group, who is like Mr. Euro. He's like super turbo heavy Euro. He takes games like Teotihuacan and eats them for breakfast. He's that good at those sorts of things. Backed it. This is his game of the year. Seriously, this is definitely not a Euro game. This has got dice in it. It's got a lot of randomness in it. But in his opinion, and I can see where he's coming from, that this is one of the best semi-cooperative games ever made.
Stop banging the desk.
Sorry, I'm not touching it. It's pulling my chair.
It's you going.
This is the best game ever.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Sorry. It's Dan's best game of the year, which came as a surprise, of course. But I can see his point because it's a really, really good semi-co-op. It's extremely replayable. And, of course, so much bad shit happens, you can't help but laugh.
Yeah. I like games like that, where it genuinely feels desperate, but there does still look like there's a glimmer of hope that you might all make it out alive, or at least one of you. Good luck, guys.
And to be honest, that's all that matters, because you have asymmetric objectives as well. And that's something else they've changed, is the objectives in the game, because you get 2, but you choose one of them, but only when you encounter a beastie.
Okay.
So you've got two potentially conflicting objectives, and then you've got to pick one or the other. One of them's a personal one of them's basically you work for the company, and you've got to pick. So you can either basically pick to work for the company and do basically the aliens thing of, maybe keeping an egg or preserving the alien species, or you basically go, I'm going to stay alive. Maybe I've got a buddy on board, I'll try and help them as well. Or screw it, I'm going to kill everyone, jump myself into an escape pod. Bye! Or whatever that may be. So there are, again, it comes down to another thing we really like about games is meaningful decisions. It has a lot of that, and believe me, your decisions have consequences.
For all those reasons and more, it's there. That's number 2 for me.
A lot of good reasons, and a very, very good game.
That's Nemesis from Awakened Realms.
Indeed. Andy, what's number 3 for you?
Well, whilst on the subject of Awakened Realms, they are a bit of a favourite of mine, stroke ours. And this was a toss-up, really. The third item on my list was the toss-up between Teotihuacan and this game, Lords of Hellas, which we have all played.
We have.
Although it was some time ago at Aircon earlier this year with Michael from Geekinson. We all really enjoyed this. I've played this now 3 or 4 times. And again, it's you can tell it's Awakened Realms, but because it's got lots and lots and lots and lots of miniatures in it. It's beautiful, it's a massive campaign, it's extremely well run, but the game itself is very well balanced. It's an area control game, so very different to Nemesis. And again, slightly asymmetric, so every player has a hero with a different ability, which will influence their game. But there are 4 potential ways to win. So your strategy will vary depending on which one you want to go for. So you can kill beasties, achieve missions, take over the board, do various other bits and bobs as well, build temples, that sort of thing, or build a monument. So there's lots of different ways to win. And the good thing is when we played, of course, we all chose different strategies. And well, mostly chose different strategies. But I think for about 2 or 3 times during that game, we were all almost potentially 1 turn away from winning until John won.
So yes, we all had different strategies, but I had all of the strategies at various points in the game. So it's like, I've got lots of options open to me initially, and then at some point it's like, there's no way that I can hope to get over there to do that thing in time. So they're obviously going to go for that one. So I'll drop that as something that I'm playing along as a possibility until I ended up with just one that like, yep, okay, that's the mission now. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, and I think that's its beauty is that, certainly in a lot of Euro games, certainly if you change strategy, you're probably screwed. Whereas in this, it has the flexibility that you can adjust your strategy according to what the other players do.
To some extent, you can still go too deep down one route and then suddenly go like, "Ah, crap!"
I agree.
Someone else has done the same thing, and they've taken the stuff that I need to do it. Shitballs.
It's almost like you're hovering around 2 or 3 simultaneous strategies until at one point you have to commit to one of them.
Exactly.
But every time I've played this game, every player has been within about 1 or 2 turns of being able to win. It's been that close at the end. And surely that is I suppose, demonstrably the epitome of what is a really balanced game. Which is
definitely a hallmark of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Hallmark.
So yeah, Lords of Hellas, great game. We've talked about it at length before. Steve, what's your number 3?
Right. Now, I could admit, my first 2 on this list were a complete shoe-in, and we're always going to be there. And I struggled picking my 3rd option, and I looked at how, because I'm such a geek, I record all my plays on Board Game Geek, so I know exactly how many times I've played each game. And I looked back, and it was actually, this is a top game for me, but I didn't realise just how often I had played Century Eastern Wonder.
This, I have to say, I saw this on your list, and I went, really?
Okay, so for those that don't know, this is the sequel or the second part of a trilogy of games. The first part was Century Spice Road. The Century Eastern Wonder takes a similar idea, this idea of converting cubes, do these little exchanges, so convert 2 red cubes to 3 green cubes or whatever, and then slowly having to use all these different combinations to get the combination of cubes you want to fulfill a contract. I say cubes, they're supposed to be spices, and they are set what they are, but let's call a cube a cube.
No, let's go one further. Let's call it a brown cube, because my dog eyes just see 4 shades of brown.
So what I really like about this game is it's that kind of level of game where we mentioned earlier, our 3 for 3. Our 3 for 3 always tend to be of a similar kind of ilk. They're short games that we can play with almost anyone. And I put this into this list because I think it's been overlooked a little bit much this year. I think there was a big hype when when it first came out, when it was announced, and I think that hype dropped. And I don't think it's deserved that drop of hype. I think it's still a solid game. Spice Road was a hand management game. Eastern Wonder is a pick up and deliver game, so you have to move around the board and make tactical decisions about where you're going to go and do stuff. Now, it does mean occasionally that people can end up with a little cluster and get into a little routine and go like, oh, I'm going to go to these 4 places and do these 4 conversions and get whatever I want. But then they'll do that, and then on their 5th time they want to do it, they'll realise they need to get to the opposite end of the board to drop it off, and then that's the point when you scupper them.
He says, grinning.
I have to admit, though, I do agree, Steve. It's kind of not quite an undiscovered, but a very unappreciated gem.
It's weird. It's like everyone absolutely loved it when it first came out, and then all of a sudden no one's talking about it anymore. And I feel as if it's not undiscovered because everyone's played it. I just feel as if everyone has forgotten about it when they shouldn't have.
Yes. Have you played Santa Sea yet?
No, I haven't had a chance to
No,
play them.
neither have I. That's the problem. Because obviously you can combine this with Spice Road and play Santa Sea, which is essentially, I mean, basically, as far as, I mean, I've scooted through the rules, and it's basically the same game as Eastern Wonder, but you can use the cards from Spice Road to give you additional actions, basically, as far as I can tell. But I agree with you that it is a lovely little game. Easy to set up, easy to teach. And the biggest difference between it and Spice Road, I think, is the fact that in Spice Road, you don't know what anybody else's actions could be. Whereas in Eastern Wonder, you do, because they're all on the board. So it becomes a little more tactical.
Yes, and there's a little bit more of it. It's more of a multiplayer game because the thing about Spice Road is it's a race to try and get hold of those high victory point cards, but in the end, once you've got a decent set of cards in your hand, you are just basically just optimizing your engine to do what you need to do. Whereas there's some of that still in Eastern Wonder. You've got this little engine which is your little route around these islands. But someone else can come in and scupper up, have an effect. Well, not quite scupper up, that's possibly a bit too much, but someone else can come in and have an effect upon those your engine, or make it more difficult for you to change your engines later on.
Or they can benefit from you doing what you're doing, because they can build a hut or whatever it is. So, they can benefit from your little engine, so you don't get as much advantage.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I really like that, and I can see that being one of these kind of evergreen games. It's going to be played like Azul and Photosynthesis and the original Spice Road over and over again.
I always look at it and Spice Road as games to go to. If I'm, as you've said, games to go to if I'm going to go to not necessarily heavy gamers or other groups of games where you want a game that's easy to teach, easy to pick up, and it's always going to be enjoyed. And it definitely falls into that. It's a great little game. So yes, I agree with it's underappreciated, I think.
So that's Century Eastern Wonder. So, the last on the list, Mr. Cage.
Last, but by no means least.
Quite literally, actually.
Had to mention City of Kings, because it's a fantastic game.
It is, and it took us only 9 months to play it.
It did. Which is going to be a record for us. And, predictably, we played it wrong.
Well, of course.
So, City of Kings is a kind of co-op adventure. A lot of people have described it as a better version of Talisman. I think
it's not hard, is it?
I think people are harsh to Talisman, but still.
No, they're accurate. Accurate, John. Accurate.
Anyway, we're getting off the point. City of Kings is a great game. A great co-op adventure-y kind of game where you wander around a map and try and achieve some objectives, which generally involve bashing monsters over the head whilst trying to find particular parts of the board. You got to expose new areas of the map and try and avoid losing hope and morale for the the people of the city in which you venture forth from, is a kind of very top-level overview of that game.
Yes. No, it's slightly deep. It's essentially a kind of almost an RPG, but not quite.
I think it's interesting because unlike a lot of those games, it's not just you, an adventurer wandering around. You've also got a worker who can go out and try and mine bits and pieces. And generally those bits you can combine to either buy new equipment for your guy, which is a different way of acquiring new stuff, or sort of constructing things like barricades that you can hide from to try and take out a boss before it kills you.
Yes.
So there's a lot of variety in there.
There is. The flexibility in the game and the way it's set up, because obviously the tiles are randomised to a point. There are fixed places in certain missions depending on what the story is. And again, it comes back to you playing through a story. The game is set up through about 6 or 7 chapters, and each chapter is a scenario in the game, or at least a section of the map that you set up. So, I mean, the game we played was it 7 chapters or thereabouts. So you have objective for each one. So you complete one objective and then you turn the card over. Right, you now need to do this. You're allowed to go here. You have to find this tower. But you don't know where that tower is. You know it's in there somewhere. So it forces you to explore. So it's, again, you're part of an unfolding tale. So there's a nice thread of story being weaved through the game. And every game will be different because there's dice, there's the tiles in a different place. The monsters will be different because the monster generation system is pseudo-random. So it's all good.
Yeah, so although you get kind of standard monsters, their abilities change every game. And some of their ability combinations are more deadly than others.
Yes, especially once you get to about level 4 and you start going, how many tiles do I have to draw out of this bag? 6! Right, okay. We're dead.
Yep. It's good fun.
So this monster can teleport, throw fireballs, regenerate, deflect hits. How are we supposed to kill this? I've got nothing. What have you got? Oh, I've got a stick. What have you got? I've got a shield. Yes.
I can heal you enough so that you can get close to him. However, the moment he spots you, that's it. So we're going to need some barricades. And, oh, no, okay, maybe there is a way we can work through this.
It is. It's great. And I'd say the forced, but the real cooperative nature of the game really makes it fantastic, because you do talk about what you want to do with your teammates. Well, I'm going to go there. I'll send my worker there. We need some coal, so go over there because I want to buy this bit of kit from the market, take it back. It's really, really great for that.
It also forces you down each having to take a different route. Like if you all make your characters fighty characters and no one can heal anything, there's a good chance you're not going to survive as a party.
Well, not long, no. No, absolutely right. Again, it's like a sort of light RPG in a way. You know, you need a balanced party.
So that was City of Kings, another excellent game. As you say, or as you said earlier, rather, Steve, this year's been very good for games.
It has. Too good, almost.
It can't be too good.
Well, no, of course not too good.
It's really good for games. It's really bad for writing a podcast where you're trying to whittle down 9 games at the end of the year.
It really is, yes. Whittling down from 25 to 3 was bloody difficult.
Now, the question is, do we have a Polyhedron Collider Game of the Year? Now, last year, I don't think we actually came up with a decision. Previous year, we said it was Mansions of Madness. I don't think we could agree on one last year.
I don't think we're going to be able to agree on one this year because, A, we haven't played enough games together, which is a major downfall.
True.
But there's so many to choose from. I mean, from this list alone, I think we can probably only choose about 3 or 4 of them, purely based on the fact that together we've played them all. Brass, Lords of Hellas, Nemesis, or City of Kings is going to have to be. That's the choice, I think.
And I as I said, you haven't actually played Brass, though, have you, John?
No. There's only one game on this list that all 3 of us have played.
2 of them. Oh, no, actually, no. In its final state, you're right.
One game.
It's only Lords of Hellas.
It's got to be Lords of Hellas.
Which is a bit unfair because I don't think, as I said, we've not all played them, so we can't all make that decision, I don't think.
No, and I don't actually think Lords of Hellas is... I wouldn't even give Lords of Hellas Game of the Year.
I think, actually, even if we had all played all of those games, we still wouldn't agree.
No. This really is like Top Gear.
I don't think there is a clear winner there.
There isn't, because they're all so bloody good. There isn't enough time. Stop making board games, Brigitte. Wait.
And on that bombshell,
Thank you very much for listening. That has been our top games of 2018 that we've actually played, although we haven't all played all of them, as we've just determined.
There were so many asterisks after this top games of 2018. You could form some kind of ninja academy.
It was the same last year. We had exactly the same issue. It's going to be the same issue this year.
we're just reassuring the listeners that we're still the #ramshackle crew that we always have been.
Yes.
It's very true. Because I think last year we didn't come to a decision. That last year our choices were Anachrony, Gloomhaven, Unlock. That was my 3.
Mm-hmm.
Andy's were Tortuga, Sulkin, and Charterstone. And John's was Suro, which came out in like 2006. Mansions of Madness and Mexivus. In fact, John's choices weren't from that year, were they?
How
Do
did
you know
we
what? You've done
allow
better,
that?
John. We didn't. We ribbed him. We ribbed
That's
him
a fair point,
mercilessly.
we did, yes.
However, I should point out that John has actually picked 3 games that came out this year.
He has.
See, I've got more better.
He's getting better.
Do you know what, though? Retrospectively, I think Game of 2017's got to be Gloomhaven. To nobody's surprise.
I'm inclined to agree with you there.
So
Right.
in 12 months' time, we'll be able to give you a game of 2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're on the cutting edge, as
Hopefully.
always.
So, thank you very much for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider. We will be back soon with our games we are looking forward to in 2019, which no doubt not all of us will play. It might actually be worth us going back and listening to what we said this time last year for that one as well, and seeing
How badly we did.
yeah, how bad were our predictions?
I did listen, and we were okay, although there's still a few of those games that haven't been released yet.
Oh,
So hurry up,
okay.
producers. You've disappointed. You're letting the side down, basically.
If you actually enjoyed listening to this, please give us a review on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to chat to us, we are available on Twitter. We are as a group at Polyhedron C. I'm at Wahofa Madenga.
I'm at Sonic H with a 0.
And I'm at John_Cage.
We're also available on Facebook and the Board Game Geek Guild 2726. And we are on Twitch TV with our regular Dungeons and Dragons games, which we're having a bit of a break over Christmas because I need it.
I need to apologise for the last one. I accidentally forgot to turn on the microphone on my feed, which basically means we could publish it, but it would be really odd listening. So I might try and do a fireside summary of that if I get some time over the next couple of days.
Oh, you have to do that as a video, John. Sat in a chair with a dog.
That was the plan. Well, I can't do a dog, but I can do a cat.
That'll work.
That'll do.
Yeah.
With like a big tome on your lap.
Yeah.
Welcome, listeners.
With an iPad inside it. So
Can you do the voice? You have to do the voice. Welcome, listeners.
I mean, did you watch the big fat quiz of the year? It'll be like Charles Dance reading the vacuous autobiography section.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
If we could get Charles Dance to do our summaries every week, that would be amazing. 17 people would see Charles Dance.
Stop wiggling your leg.
Sorry, I was tapping the table.
Whatever the thrumming noise is.
Yeah, it was me tapping the
Yes.
table. Sorry.
Anyway, bye for now, and we'll see you soon.
Tatty bye and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Catch you later in 2019.